Woman that rescues a kitten quickly learns it's not the animal she suspected. If you're an animal lover, it's basically impossible to look the other way when you see an animal in need, especially if the animal in question is small and fluffy with innocent eyes the size of saucers. Let's face it, humans have been suckers for a cute animal in need since time immemorial. It's our impulse to hold them close that basically led to their domestication, and this powerful urge can actually sometimes get humans into trouble. Recently, a Tennessee woman took a walk on the wild side when she rescued a sweet little kitten. Or so she thought. Jill Hicks is a real animal lover. She has a rescued dog and cat at home and spends a lot of her time tending to them. That's why she didn't even pause when she saw a cute pair of paws on her way to dinner one night. She'd been driving down the busy highway to meet a friend, as she'd done plenty of times before. Suddenly, she noticed a small animal scurrying down the road, dangerously close to passing cars. Jill slammed on her brakes. Before she could stop herself, Jill was standing in the middle of the road, attempting to secure what she thought was a baby bunny. Traffic was stopped by the time Jill had the tiny fluff ball in her arms. But once she had the animal, she knew it wasn't a bunny. It was clearly a little kitten. She was so relieved to have saved it from the busy highway and decided she immediately had to bring it home. Dinner would have to wait. The kitten was not happy once it was in the car. It began to crawl all around the back seat and on her shoulders. She thought she'd calm down once they were home. However, there was one thing Jill hadn't thought through. When Jill got home, she realized she couldn't bring the kitten inside because of her other animals. Jill decided to keep the kitten sequestered in the safety of the garage, where she had plenty of kitty supplies on hand. Before heading off to dinner, she made sure the kitten had everything it needed. Then she quickly snapped a few pictures of the animal and posted them on social media, hoping someone would want to adopt her. Well, she got a major surprise. A couple of hours later, she returned from dinner and parked. When she got out of her car, she heard her neighbor calling, "Do you still have that cat?" they asked urgently. Jill led her to the garage. It didn't take long for Jill's neighbor to deduce what Jill had missed the entire time. The sweet kitten that she had rescued wasn't actually a kitten at all. She was something much more ferocious. It turns out that the furry fugitive was actually a wild bobcat. In hindsight, that seemed pretty obvious due to the shape of her ears and the tiny puff of a tail she had. Jill couldn't believe her mistake, which she now had to remedy. The little cat began showing her true nature as she started to growl and hiss. Jill decided it was important that she amend the post she had made to include one minor detail, that the kitten was not a kitten at all. That night, Jill didn't want to leave the defenseless animal on her own, so she elected to sleep in the garage. She checked on her throughout the night to make sure she was safe. The next day, she'd make a plan. After breakfast the next day, Jill contacted a local wildlife rescue organization called For Fox's Sake. They took the animal in and let Jill know she was about 7 weeks old before revealing how lucky the cat turned out to be. The animal, now named Arwen, was very sick. Because of the early separation from her mother, she was suffering from anemia and other issues. Arwen was immediately placed in intensive care, and all Jill could do was watch and hope for the best. Ideally, every baby animal should be with their mother, but for Arwen there was no way to find out where her home den was, as she was found by the highway. The professionals did the next best thing by watching her health closely. After the first few days in intensive care, Arwen began to change, becoming more and more aggressive to humans. Strangely, this was great news. A healthy bobcat is supposed to be naturally defensive when it comes to mankind. Sadly for Jill, she was barred from contact with her bobcat pal while she was getting rehabilitated. The organization planned to release Arwen back into the wild once she was fully healthy and able to protect herself in the wild. Although she knew that it was best for Arwen, Jill missed the sassy little cat she fostered for a restless night. "She stole a little piece of my heart that day, and she'll have it forever," Hicks said. Recently, Jill got an update on Arwen after she'd spent 1 month in the facility. The caretaker said she was exhibiting normal cat behaviors and was on the fast track to living her life out in the wild as intended. Jill Hicks continued to be an animal advocate who fostered when she could. Her quick thinking that day helped save the life of an animal in danger, no matter how wild it ended up being. Jill wasn't alone when it came to mistaking this little guy for a household pet either. Please share this with your friends and family.